Hello, so today I'll be teaching you an essay writing technique for you to score a high mark in your A-level economics essay. Okay, so to answer a 12 marks essay question, right, you have to know the breakdown of the marks. You have to know what to say and how to write your essay properly, because I realize most of the time, right, students, they don't struggle with the content, but they struggle with how to answer essay question and what is the specific format, right? So hopefully after this video, right, it will help to clear up any doubts that you have. Okay, so the first breakdown of the marks, right, is actually knowledge and understanding. Knowledge and understanding and analysis is worth 8 marks. For knowledge and understanding, you have to memorize the definitions and also the economic theory. So for example, in this essay question, over here they say, discuss whether government should use subsidies or campaign to increase the consumption of merit goods. Right off the bat, we know the command word is discuss, so we will need to explain whether the government should use subsidy or campaign, right? To increase the consumption of what type of good? Merit goods. So you have to be able to define what is subsidies and what is merit good. Usually in the question, right, sometimes the economic theory, right, won't even be mentioned in the essay question. But you still have to be able to identify the relevant theory and be able to define it in order for you to score a full mark. Okay, so right now, if you are not able to recognize them, don't worry, because the more we do questions, the more you'll be able to automatically associate the theory with the question, even though the question never mentioned the theory. Okay, and remember, it's very important for you to memorize the definitions, even though memorizing takes a long time. But if you're able to memorize and quickly write in the exam, it will help you save a lot of time. Okay, so for the second part of the essay, you have to be able to analyze. Now, basically, analyzing is actually just answering what the question is asking for. In this case, the question is asking you whether the government should use subsidies or campaign, right? But for analysis, you have to make sure one thing. You have to be able to explain both sides of the topic. You have to say, government should use subsidy. Why? Government should use campaign, and why? Right? Because if you just explain, the government should use subsidy only, and you don't explain about campaign, and campaign is mentioned in the question, then I would say that your analysis marks will be very low, and that will be quite disappointing. Yeah. Okay. Now we know I've written here, right? Knowledge and understanding and analysis is worth 8 marks. For the last part, we have evaluation and conclusion. Now let me jump to conclusion first. Conclusion, right, is worth 1 mark. You have to remember this. It's always worth 1 mark, and if you do not write your conclusion at all, you actually lose 1 mark. And that 1 mark can be very important, because maybe you get an 89 and you need that 1 mark to get a 90. Yeah, so all this is very important. But let's look at evaluation, which is what most students struggle with the most. Okay. Evaluation, right, is basically evaluating, or we say like weighing between the points that you have mentioned in your analysis to discuss the extent to which you agree with a particular side of the argument. Okay, so again, it sounds confusing, and in order to clear up the confusion, let me give you an example. So basically, this thing that I wrote here, whether or not the government should use campaign or subsidies, depends on ... is actually like a template that you can use for evaluation. Okay, I would say that the majority of the time, right, the questions require to evaluate in this format. We also have another form of evaluation, which is discussing the limitations. But I will go through questions like that so you become more familiar on what type of evaluation to use. But basically, this format that I've written here, whether or not something depends on something, you can basically use this format in most of the essays. So yeah, in this case, whether or not the government should use campaign or subsidy, it depends on number one, financial ability of the government, right? If the government's financial ability is weak, then maybe using the campaign would be a better choice rather than using subsidies, correct? And secondly, it also depends on the time factor under consideration. This is basically short run versus long run. Short run versus long run. In the long run, right, campaign would be better, right? Because it takes a long time to change someone's mind about something. But in the short run, subsidies would be more effective. So it depends whether the government want to solve this problem just in short term or for the long run. Okay, so for evaluation, I would say make sure to give 2 or 3 points to be safe. So yeah, basically if you continue to progress in my lessons, right, we will do more sample essays like that. Like, okay, this one is an 8 marks question and it's about the PPC. So yeah, as you can see, right, the breakdown for 8 marks question is a little bit different. For our 12 marks question, right, knowledge, understanding, and analysis, right, is 8 marks, right? But over here, knowledge, understanding, and analysis is 3 marks, evaluation is only 1 mark, and conclusion is 1 mark. So total 8 marks. So in my next lesson, we will be doing more and more sample essays together, and hopefully by the time your exam is near, right, you have like a compilation. We will compile all the essays that we have done together, so that revision would be much easier. And yeah, that is very important. And also it would be good if you can update me like every week where your teacher stopped at, and also tell me about which part of the subject that you struggle with. Is it the content? Because if it's the content, I can actually teach you the content, and also I can teach you format, yeah, which is very, very important. I would say format and content, both of these things, in order for you to score A star. Yeah, so okay, that's it for today's lesson. Hopefully in the following lesson you will join again and we will do more sample questions together.